Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
You have your tissues ready?
Oh boy. Oh
That
boy.
intro already had me a little. So I have a whole roll of toilet paper ready to
I,
go. Just
I I expect a lot of people are probably going to be going to reach for their tissues here soon. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining the Alpha News Network. This is our debut show, and I'm Lisa.
I'm Summer.
We
I'm
are a
so
new
glad.
perspective.
We need to have like a thing where it's like we're a new perspective together.
We're
We
going to
need
offer you a
shirts.
new perspective.
I'm
We
so
need shirts.
excited
I
for it.
agree. Yeah, Summer, I got to say I'm pretty excited about this podcast and all of the amazing information that we're going to be bringing to our audience, both our viewing and listening audience. And I know we're streaming across several platforms, including on Twitter Spaces. So
Oh,
I'm
are we
having
on
some.
Twitter Spaces?
Yeah, we are. We're actually going to be
Oh,
streaming on. I'm sorry. I'm having technical difficulties because of a puppy who's crawling around underneath me. So, I think it's important to let our audience know, for those listening and those viewing who haven't actually heard what we're offering regarding, what the point of this show is and what we're trying to do overall, where we're going with this, what the point of it is. So from your perspective, Summer, what would you say? How would you sort of walk out the entire sort of point of what we're doing here with our own new perspective?
I think we're bringing a very real perspective. We are moms. We are women who are concerned about what's going on in our world. And I think that there are just so many things, especially as we get older, we look at things a lot differently. And I think that that is kind of where we're bringing things is we're going to give you our perspective and other people's perspective. And I am so nervous. I am never on camera. I'm always behind the camera. So forgive me for this, but it's going to get me through. So
Yeah,
cheers.
I think that cheers to us. I think that's a great idea. So yeah, from my own perspective, the way I see this walking out and what we're trying to invoke or provoke is, getting people to understand and see the world from a wider viewed lens. Where we get so sort of busied up in our own day-to-day lives, with the things that are affecting us on a day-to-day basis, those that are close to us, whether that be family, friends, extended family, but through the lens of others, including strangers. Everybody's battling their own sort of struggle, and nobody walks the same path. Everybody's got a unique fingerprint. There isn't anybody that's immune from any struggle in life. So it's interesting to sort of take in this entire scope of let's bring it right into the living room. Let's show you from a perspective of somebody that's walked down one of these paths what this sort of looks like, what it feels like, and try to imagine yourself in that sort of same scenario. How would you react? And just by listening to these stories, you never know, somebody may walk into your life 2 years from now and be sort of saddled with one of these same scenarios, and you're like, you know what, I have a little bit of knowledge about this and I can speak to it, and maybe I can offer some sort of solace to this person, because of what they're going through, their struggle, because I can now sort of relate to it, understanding it a little bit further with a new perspective, right?
Well, I also think it's important to know that, not, I mean, you just don't really know people's stories. And just because somebody may look a certain way, you have absolutely no idea where they come from, what their past is, how they became the person that they are. And I think it's super important for us to share those stories, because I know my story probably has surprised a lot of people, and I love that. And I think that that's it's relatable, it's raw, it's real, and I think that's the important thing about this show is that we want everybody to know, like, we want you to leave here inspired. We want you to do something with what we're going to give to you, and I think tonight is the perfect way to kick it off. I'm super excited.
I'm so excited too. And just to
When you
echo off
want to
it,
do this, anybody else?
Summer, I'm glad you said that. And cheers to you, sister, because, let's do maybe a little background scenario on this. And where this began. How did we come to know each other? So you being in Texas, me being in Florida, we've literally never met in person, but I feel like you're a sister to me, and I've known you for much longer than I actually have. The reality of, and I remember just sort of hearing you talking on Spaces, you hearing me, and then we were suddenly in the DMs going, what about this? What about that? And it's like, you know what? We should do something about that. We should definitely do something about that. Yeah. Let's.
Well, it was a joke at first, though. Remember, it was a total joke. It was you, me, and producer Randy, and it was just. I thought we would have a show like Trans, where I could just go off and just be crazy and.
Oh no. I'm going way back. I'm going way back. I'm talking about like last summer. We were going to create this sort of like moms coalition, because of what the heck we saw going on with all these things.
And that's what we're doing.
And all the changes. And so, yeah, this sort of, but this is so much broader now. We get to like really drive home, a harder audience and bring them all closer. And not only that, so everybody's affected by this. Everybody can take part in this. Everybody's got some stake in the game, so to speak. Right.
Well, so it's fair to say that, over the last couple of years, all of our lives have changed. Everything is different. And we all have a new perspective on everything. And I think that's the beauty of what we're going to do, is we are going to bring a new perspective to everything. It's going to be controversial at times. It's definitely going to be heart-wrenching and emotional, but it's going to make you think. And that's all we want. That's the most important thing, is that we help you think about things. We're going to empower you. We are going to have other moms and women who, like us, just want to make a difference and want to be the best that we can be. And I think it's a legacy we're leaving for our children. And that's the most important thing. So I'm super excited. And I'm super excited about our guests tonight. And I don't even think people know what's about to happen, because we haven't said
No, this is sort of top secret, but we're going to be blowing the door wide open over this whole scenario and sort of, and it's so three-dimensional what we're about to sort of do here in this this debut episode of A New Perspective. So I do want to, I think we should definitely do a little bit of a bio, like maybe, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. I'll do the same, we'll kind of set the groundwork, getting off the road a little bit, and going forward, if anybody ever wants to know who the heck are these chicks, we'll just tell them, go back to episode 1. You'll see us there. So, would you like to do the honors? Would you like to sort of get started and give a little background here? Doesn't have to be anything crazy.
My name is Summer. I live in McKinney, Texas. I am a transplant or a refugee from California, and I am the mom of 2 sets of twin daughters. 20, almost 23. I hate saying that. And then 10. And I own my own. I'm a makeup artist. I own a hair and makeup company. I specialize in weddings. It's amazing. It's amazing, guys. And art is for women, for girls. I have a really interesting past, and it's very colorful and fun. And I just want to reach as many young women and moms and grandmas. I love you all. But I think that for me right now, my hill is just what's happening to our girls and our women, and just, kind of how we're looked at. And I think it's so important that we rise up a generation that love themselves, love who they are okay with their past, want to make a better future, and want to change the world in a good way. And that's what we're going to do.
Yep. I love that. So I'm going to try to, do sort of a synopsis, same sort of thing. So I'm in Florida. I'm in the Tampa Bay area. I am also a transplant out of the Midwest. I left Illinois when I was 17 years old. I said, heck no, I'm not living in this cold, nasty weather in this crazy, ridiculous state. I can't wait. I want you here. I was dealing with a lot of stuff as an adolescent. I had a substance abuse. I had a substance addicted mother. I had somewhat of a dysfunctional family situation going on. I was seeing a lot of my friends growing up, not, and they were using drugs. They were not really, there wasn't any sort of direction going anywhere. I didn't see a future for myself where I was. I was actually, I felt something moving inside of me that just said, go, take flight. And I did. And I didn't know how I was going to land. All I knew is I had a fight inside of me and I wasn't going to fail. Right. And so I came down here sort of, somewhat misguided, definitely didn't have what I needed. But I had just enough support as a springboard to really go, I got to dig my heels in and make this work. Cause I only have me to rely on. I have nobody else but me to rely on. And so with that, I started attending the local college. It was a little bit of a struggle for me. I didn't have the greatest finish through high school because I was dealing with a lot of, dysfunctional type stuff. There was a lot of external circumstances going on that was I didn't graduate. So I had to hurry up and get my GED when I got down here. And I don't think a lot of people know that about me. So, where I've been and where I am now is quite stark contrast. So, I went and got my good enough diploma, right? So I started attending the local college. I started, just really digging in, and I would do this sort of balancing act where I was still being a 20-something-year-old at times. And then I was like, nope, got to finish school, got to work 3 jobs, got to pay my bills. And I'm not letting the party scene carry me away, because it's easy to do in Florida, especially like the beach life, and everybody's young and like vibrant and they want to have fun and they want to party. But, at the same time, I'm like, I got to stay grounded and keep it real and keep driving forward, because again, I got no safety net here. So it's just me and me alone. And so I pushed forward. I became a registered nurse in like 2004. And I knew that wasn't an end point for me. So I continued to push forward. I had to take a little bit of a pause. I worked in the ER. I was like, this is cool, whatever. I like this craziness. Like I'm all about the chaos and thriving in chaos. I need several things going at once.
I am the chaos coordinator.
We love the chaos,
right? Have fun.
There you go. And so I finally did. I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school, but it's not going to be a bachelor's stop for me. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it all the way. So I got my master's degree. I wanted to be a family nurse practitioner. I was sort of going, do I do cardiology? Do I do orthopedics? Do I do aesthetics? I'm not really sure, but the needling to come at me with, psych. And it only made sense, at the end of the day, considering where I've been, what I've known, where I've come from, and how I sort of grew as a person internally from that. So there's been this whole sort of like shift. And then, just to sort of, close it out, scary as it may be. And yes, I just went through this sort of very, event with my 4-year-old who broke her leg yesterday. As terrifying as it is, she's managing, as best as she can be. And it breaks my heart, but I got to tell you, something shifted inside of even me today. So, it was an expensive visit, and I was able to pay for that doctor's appointment, where a lot of people probably, yeah, but so here's my problem is, as upset as anybody wants to be. So, ouch, nobody wants to get a big nasty bill like that. But, rather than going into that angry angle, I literally had to thank my lucky stars and say, I'm at a point in my life where I have to be thankful, and I've got to point it towards one direction. There's some guiding light for me over here, because I've got the ability to do this. Yeah, nobody wants to, but it's not going to.
Let me get my tissues.
Get your tissues, girl, because look, I was able to pay this ridiculous bill. Not that it's an ideal situation, but I had to thank God. This is the path that I found myself on. And a lot of people struggle. They don't find themselves on that same path, and it's a very stress-provoking, anxiety-provoking, fear-provoking response, and so I could have gone a different angle and thought, but I found myself at an elevated point in my life where I said, there's a reason why I'm here where I am right now, and I have to thank God for that. So
absolutely. I never in a million years thought that I would be doing this. I'm not going to lie. And, like you, there was a time that when my girls were little and I was a single mom living in Florida, I never, ever imagined that this would be what God had for me. And I love every second of it. I'm so thankful. I never, ever thought I would have two sets of twins. In fact, I didn't even really want kids because I wanted to travel and see the world. And yet here we are. And I love it. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful that the wonderful internet led us to each other.
And serendipitous.
It is. It totally is. And it was funny when you were talking about your degree and all of that. My daughter is actually trying to finish school. She's a psych major, and you guys remind me a lot of each other. And we butt heads a lot because she's also a lot like me. But there's something to be said for people who are just driven and just unapologetic and are ready to just, we'll do what we have to do. And that's kind of that's my prayer for this show, is that we will empower other people to do the same.
And that's what it is. We empower. When we are kind of forced to live upon our own resiliency and the strengths that we have within us, we sort of become these performers. We perform beyond our own expectations. We see what we're really made of. But when we've got people sort of holding our hand through life, it's really a disabling factor. And a lot of people don't see it that way. They don't see it as, harmful or negative, but really it's holding somebody back from recognizing and becoming to their fullest potential. So I love that. And, we've got a lot of good things to bring here. And, we're going to be just probably talking about a lot of this
personal
stuff
too. I think both of us, we're pretty open people. I know the last couple of years have definitely made me a lot more comfortable sharing my past and where I come from. And I am no longer ashamed of some of the things that I have seen and had to have been a part of. And I think it's time that we embrace that and open that up in other people, because there are so many things that I truly feel like we just hold inside. We don't want people to think certain things about us. There's shame, there's guilt, and there shouldn't be, because we're about to find out. I mean, what one woman's journey and story can do, or person, to empower a generation. So with that said, are we ready to start this?
Yeah, we're definitely ready. I'm so excited for our guests that are coming on for this evening's first episode of A New Perspective. I think this is going to just, sort of put it out there with a bang, and it's going to be amazing for anybody that's listening to sort of see this whole entire transgression of the situation and how it plays out. So let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Story. All right, Alpha, bring her on. My favorite, Miss Jocelynn. Hi, doll.
Hey.
Hello. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are y'all?
We're good.
We're good.
So I'm just going to give a really quick backstory to how I met you. So we moved to Texas almost 4 years ago, and my husband, every Saturday, because I work, he takes our daughters to breakfast. And when we lived in California and in Washington, it was Denny's. Thank God we don't have a Denny's here. We have a Starwood. And it's this cute little, I don't even know, just American breakfast place, Jocelynn?
Yeah, definitely.
We love it. It's homey, it's cute. They have amazing food and amazing servers. So we have been going there since we moved here. And Jocelynn just kind of came out of nowhere. This little cute little girl just, let me serve you. And I loved her. There was something about her I was drawn to. At the time, I think you were dog sitting for someone, right? And that was what started something. So we got a puppy, and we had to go to California and I was super worried about what I was going to do with my puppy. I didn't want to kennel her because, I'll be honest, she's a turd. And so I said, Jocelynn, would you like to come to my house and share my dog? And she was like, sure. I'm like, perfect. So she comes over, and it was supposed to be a 15-minute, here's my house, here's Olive. 4.5 hours later, almost. Tears, just bawling like a baby. I said, I want you to be my guest, my first show. And it's happening, and I'm so excited.
I know.
You've touched my life. You have changed my life in amazing ways.
So, Jocelyn, are you from Texas also? Did you grow up in Texas?
I did. I grew up in the Metroplex specifically too. I went to school in like a tiny town up north called Pilot Point, and then I went to high school in Denton. And I've been in the Metroplex most of my life. Took a little sabbatical into Lubbock for Texas Tech, and then came back. I was very happy to come back.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
So, Jocelynn, tell us. I want you to kind of give us a little backstory about who you are, where you come from, and lead us into what happened in February last year.
Oh, yay. Okay. So like I said, went to Texas Tech. I have 2 degrees from there. I have my degree of a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Acting, which is super fun. And then I have a almost finished biology degree with the intent of like dental school or something like that. But while there, met a boy at a restaurant, the classic she met a boy story. We were together for about 5 years, going on 6. And when COVID happened, like a lot of people, I got pregnant. COVID babies are a real thing. The downside of me becoming pregnant was we were in a highly toxic and highly abusive relationship. Pretty extensive, a lot of different forms of abuse that are no fun. And then I spent most of my pregnancy kind of keeping it from him, if you will, because I didn't want anything bad happening to me while I was pregnant. And while that happened, the day I went into labor was the first day of our snowpocalypse here in Texas. I had been in labor most of the night trying to, like, I guess, ignore that or not let it be true that it's happening. But, you can't stop labor for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I was laying on the couch. I had a contraction like throw me off the couch, and the words thrown to me were either you can drive yourself to the hospital or I can call you an ambulance. So I opened the door at 8 a.m. and it's snowing. I was very fortunate to live like a mile from a hospital, like 2 stop signs from a hospital. So I drove mid-labor into the hospital, and I drove myself
in labor.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't even look at people, and I didn't even have labor. I literally was like, that feels like something. I am going to pretend like I am in full-blown labor. I can't do anything. So you drove yourself in a snowstorm alone.
Wow.
Yeah. I did. And I feel so silly saying this, but I only had 1 contraction at a stop sign. I felt pretty proud of myself. And I got to the parking lot of the emergency room, and there's a point when you're having a baby that you can't really get up. You can't stand, you can't do anything anymore. And so I was stuck in the car no matter what at this point. Like, it was just going to happen. And so I got there probably around like 8:05, and by 8:22, my baby girl was in my arms.
Wow.
You delivered your daughter by yourself in a car in front of a hospital.
Yeah, good times. Really fun to watch people like walk by the car. And I saw one guy who I thought maybe he's a physician. I was real close to rolling down my window and being like, "Are you a physician? I need some help." But I think literally right after that I felt ahead, and I was like, well, no going back now. He can't help at this point.
So nobody came out? I mean, did you park in like the regular parking space, or did you kind of come up to like where the valet pulls out, or you just pulled into a parking spot and just had your baby on the parking lot in your car?
I did. I got as far as I could until I had to I really did just have to park. I couldn't get even to like the little bay where you swing around and have someone out. And
can you imagine, Lisa?
No, I could not imagine that. Not at all. I could not imagine that.
No, definitely not my jam. And I'll tell you this, I feel like less of a woman though, even though I have 2 sets of twins, no offense. I feel like absolutely not.
I do too.
I never even imagined. Like you are everything.
No.
You're the news stories that we saw of, women quite honestly having these precipitous births, like walking up to, I'm going to have my baby, but you're not making it inside the building, or you're just giving birth like randomly on the interstate. Like that was literally you, but in the parking lot. And I know obviously that probably wasn't, your birth plan, right? I mean, that likely did not cross your mind when you considered how you were gonna, the anticipation anxiety of like, oh boy, what's it gonna be like when I actually have this baby? Is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna be like, how is it gonna feel? And you imagine yourself in the birthing suite inside the hospital, likely, but not in a car parking lot.
In the car.
You
And
know
an
what?
SUV.
Yeah, in my Highlander, I still drive it.
Wow. Wow.
Actually, I think I just thought about this a little frustrating is being in the situation I was in. I never really thought about what giving birth was gonna be. I couldn't picture it. I didn't have a birth plan. I honestly was just getting from hour to hour and day to day at that point. And just trying to figure out ways to keep my house calm, ways to stay safe. You go into survival mode a bit. And the minute I was told I was going to take myself, that he was not going to go with me, you kind of get into this weird soldier mode of like, well, you can't go back. Like, and so.
Well, no, you certainly cannot at that point.
No, once you're in labor, there's no going back. I think I even at one point when I did, like, I felt her head, I was like, I don't think I can, like, stop this at this point. There's no, like, pushing her back up. But
I can't even imagine.
So real quick though, if I may, from the time you started feeling labor pains to the time this baby was born, this beautiful baby girl, how much time actually went by from that point to that point? What hours?
I remember feeling now, like, when you look back on everything, like, I realized my water broke probably around 4:30 in the afternoon. And then right around like 2:30 in the morning is when, like, the really intense, like, I was getting up to pee like every like 20 minutes, and it like was just in these constant pains, but not where I felt like I couldn't handle them. Like I was okay. I was just gonna go lay back down. And then it was every like 13 minutes. And then every 7, and then 10, and then 7, and then 10. And then I eventually got on the couch. I think this is so embarrassing, but I was like, I'm disturbing him. I need to go lay down somewhere else because I kept getting up. And
oh my.
I know. I went on the couch.
Isn't that sad that we kind of get into that mindset in crappy relationships that we allow people to make us feel that way? You're pregnant and you're being the inconvenience.
It is. And I sadly have had a few, I got back to Dallas and all my friends are pregnant, I swear. And I've had a few of them kind of express that to me. And I'm very huge advocate of that. I'm like, no, you're not taking up space. You're pregnant and you have a lot going on in your body, and absolutely not. They can handle it. They're okay. But it was probably from around like 2:30 in the morning, and then I had her at 8:22. And I'll never forget that time, partially because when you have kids, you never forget the time that they're born. Like, you see them. And I had 0 prenatal care except for one visit to, I have one sonogram affair that I carry in my purse. And so I didn't know what the gender was, except I kind of knew. I knew she was a girl. You have the feeling. You're like, yeah. And so when I saw her for the first time, I was like, oh, there you are. Like, I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. There you are. And I called them almost pretty quickly after having her, and I was like, hey, I'm in the parking lot and I just had a baby. Could someone please come and get us? And of course they are like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm right here. I'm right across from this parking garage. Like, that's where I'm at. And so I'm like, can someone send an ambulance, please? And they were like, yeah, sure. And they sent security first. And so security comes knocking on the window, and it's like me and my daughter, like, wrapped in a blanket, sitting in my back seat. And I roll down the window, and the guy was like, holy shit. And I said, yeah, I wasn't kidding. Can someone please call an ambulance? Wow. And it was as 30 minutes of just her and I getting to be alone in the world together. And the best 30 minutes of my whole life. I think in the end, would I have loved to have been in a hospital around the opportunity to have all the medical care that I could have had? Absolutely. But would I trade those 30 minutes of my life? Never. Not for a minute. I live with them. They're cherished. They're very cherished to me. And that was in the time when I looked at her and I thought about what I was going to have to go home to. And she just seemed like she was worth so much more than that. And keeping her safe was the only option. And I knew right then she couldn't stay with me. Sadly, she was gonna have to be placed into hands that could take care of her in the way that I really wanted to. I really, really wanted to. And so we got to the hospital, and because I don't know, she was born in a car, for whatever reason, they took her straight to the NICU. No. And so she went to the NICU. I went to labor and delivery and had the rest of my everything else that happens after you have a baby. They're going to sew you up and you're going to deliver placenta and all that kind of stuff happens in there. And then the whole time I hadn't felt pain really, because you're in such an adrenaline mode. Like you don't feel it really, obviously feel it. I remember making sounds I'd never heard come out of my body before, but sure, it didn't register to me yet. And then after I was in the room and I finally had relaxed, I remember just being like, oh, I'm in pain now. Can someone get me something to stop this? And the staff at that hospital was so kind. They were so gentle with me. They knew I was alone and that I was probably going to stay alone. They would ask me, do you have anyone? I'd be like, no, I don't have anyone. I live here by myself, and I'm never gonna I'm not gonna have anyone come up and visit me. And so they brought me flowers. And they sent the social worker, and she talked to me about, you have plenty of options. You can choose to parent, but do you want to talk about your choices for adoption? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, the one thing that matters to me is she goes nowhere near CPS. I didn't want anything like that involved. I wanted her to have the most bougie adoption process I could find. And so they brought this this folder of pamphlets, essentially, that are just adoption agencies, 10. Some were Lubbock, some were based in Dallas, some were based all over the country, some were just everywhere. And it's overwhelming for a minute. And of course she's like, I can't tell you what to do or who to choose, but these are your options. And I found this beautiful mint green packet from Gladney, who is my agency. And it was so thick, which sounds silly, but it was talking about your adoption plan, your birth plan. Why do you want to do this? Why do you not want to do this? What are some options that are I remember flipping through, and there were just pages upon pages that you could write on and really think this through, which kind of sucks because I didn't make the opportunity to get to think it through really. But that packet, man, that mint green, I have it with me, will stay with me forever, because it just, when choosing adoption, it came so late in my pregnancy. I mean, it came when I gave birth, my gut feeling drove all of it. And I thank my gut feeling every day, because it chose Gladney. It chose to place her. Picking her parents was a no-brainer for me whenever I went through the whole process. I've been very, very, very lucky in this process. And I think it's never something I would have pictured for myself. I really want to be an active parent and be a mom, but that wasn't the best decision at the time. This keeps her safe, I think, is how I'd like to end this little spiel. This keeps her the safest I can keep her for the rest of her life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am truly inspired by your strength. You are one of the strongest individuals I think I have ever heard. And you're so incredibly selfless. What an incredibly selfless decision to have made, and so difficult. I can't even imagine. I can tell that you do want to be a mama, but you knew that the choice that you were making was best for her. And that says you are a mama more than anything.
Thank God
You're
for therapy,
protecting
because I
her.
didn't feel that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I really do need those tissues. You really could have warned me, Summer.
I just, well, you know, that's what I'm here for. So, Jocelynn, what were those 30 minutes like? You had 30 minutes with her, and it was just you and it was her. And you're looking at this little, and I've seen her, and she is the cutest thing. I absolutely cannot get enough of her. So she comes out, here she is in her glory, and everything's attached, and she just lays with you, and you look in those baby brown eyes, and what made you, like, you just see her, and that was it. That was those 30 minutes were those moments. You've told me that. So looking back, what was it like when you saw her? Did you think that did you think you could do it? Because I know you could do it, but I mean, we've talked about this so many times, and now I'm just kind of, I get into all my feels with you because this story is just so amazing. But when was that moment when you realized you were like, you wanted her to have the life that you wanted to have?
God, the minute I saw her, I looked at her, and when she was born, she had my eyes. I think they're changing now. That's cool. But she had my eyes, so it's weird to see your eyes staring back at you. And it really, I looked at her and I said, "There you are." I said, "That's you." I said, I felt like I had known her my whole life. It's the first time I've ever felt that way, that I looked at someone and I said, "I've known you forever." Like, and you look at that person and you love them so much that all you want is for them to be happy, and for them to prosper, and for them to be taken care of and nurtured. And I knew, with a lot of help from the people around me who, if we're being honest, didn't know that I was pregnant. My whole family was in Dallas and no one knew. I kept it pretty much from everybody. But she she just radiated that she was worth so much. And she was so curious. I felt like we both were looking around like, what the hell is going on? But it just felt, it's weird. It felt crystal clear. It was so clear that she was exactly where she just deserved everything that I wanted to give and couldn't give. And partly because I did. My ex and I, we were very immature in our relationship. We had so much personal and generational and childhood trauma that we would just unload on each other without even realizing it, with no regard for the other person. And I think I saw that and subconsciously was like, I'm not throwing her back into that. I'm not going to recycle this person through another wash of generational trauma. It's not fair at all. That's what I think felt the most clear, is it wasn't fair for her to have to go through what I was already in and couldn't get out of at the time. I was so in it, I couldn't get out.
So you go into the hospital and she is taken to NICU, and you are left with a really big decision. And what did you do? I mean, you kind of gave us a little bit of a rundown, but what was it like emotionally and physically and psychologically? Like, you knew that you were going to give this baby or place this baby with an amazing couple, and you were going to have to leave without her.
Yeah. I think it didn't become real until you signed the papers. What's amazing, and I love this woman to this day. She drove in a snowstorm to come meet me the first night I was in the hospital. The minute I chose Gladney, they called her. Her name's Misty. She's my amazing social worker. And she drove up in a snowstorm to come meet me. And I remember her texting me saying, like, do you want a Starbucks? Do you want anything? Can I get you something from Walmart? Like, what do you need? And I was like, I don't think I need anything. Thank you. And I had the cute little NICU camera so I could see her whenever I wanted. Because with COVID, you have to be able to pass a COVID test before you could go into the NICU. So I had like the first like 10 hours, I think we were really honestly apart. And then that was when I made the decision. I picked Gladney. She came up. We talked about what the process was kind of going to look like, that I had 48 hours to really decide if I wanted to parent or not, or wanted to move into a birth parent role. And she's like, here's my number. I'm here for you whenever you need me. You just text me and I'll be here. And she really was. She came up and saw me every day. And she was the only person who visited me in the hospital.
I would have visited you, girl. I would have been there every day. You know that.
My mom and my sister said the same thing. Like, we would have been there like that. And I said, yeah, but also it was snowing. So let's be.
Oh, well, I'm well aware.
But
I was in this house with no heat, no electricity. I get it. And I still can't believe that you gave birth in a car. In a snowstorm when it's freezing outside.
Yeah, and she's totally fine. Like, she's with no prenatal care, and she's totally fine. Like, I've just been so lucky. I'm serious. Like, I got so lucky during that whole thing. And the worst part of the whole thing, and it's when you start to realize emotionally what's going on. You do give them a name, which I was not excited about because I didn't want to have to give that name up. Knowing that obviously that her parents would rename her, and they've picked a beautiful name for her. I love it. But you do name, and then there's this paper you sign that's your like resigning your rights as a parent. That's one of the hardest things I've done in my entire life. It's the worst. It's the worst feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And I just remember after that, I just cried for a long time. Like, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what grief was at the time that I was feeling grief. But the nurse there, she just held me and talked to me while I just like sobbed because I loved this person so much. And I knew I was going to have to go home without them. I think that's a hard part for a lot of birth moms that we don't get to talk about because adoption is a beautiful thing. And I love my adoptive parents. Like, we are very new in our relationship, but they're amazing. I have never regretted placing her, and I've never had any regrets of placing her with them specifically.
Did you need to choose them?
I did.
Okay, so once you made the decision this was going to be best for baby girl, what were the steps that followed, and how did you choose them?
So
I like this question.
It's so cool too, because mine specifically, if we should talk about a little bit, is open adoption. And so I'm still present. She will know and that was when you go through this process, they say pick 10 big important things. What are the 10 most important things that you would look for in a parent? If you had to pick the biggest points of being a parent, what would they be? And so actually when I got back, my ex and I sat down, I kind of made him do this together. We listed out 10 things that were important to us in terms of parents. And I sent those to my social worker, and she sent me what are called little adoption books. And they are so beautiful. They are these little books that have like the story of these people, of the people who are looking to adopt, how they met, who they are. Here's their family. Here's the kind of essence of the town they live in. Here's what they love to do. Here's why they want to be parents. And in the parents I chose, they wrote me a personal letter. My ex and I, we got a very personalized letter in the front of our book, with a number saying like, if you want to talk to us further, please call us, like, or we can set up a time to Zoom or whatever you're comfortable with. And we did. I remember telling my social worker, Misty, I said, I want to talk to them. I want to talk to them very specifically. And I'll be honest, I did a lot of this on my own. It was kind of like dragging him through mud to get my ex to do some of this. He was processing a lot of it on the tongue, and so I don't get upset with that, but it was a lot of tugging him along. So once I finally got him on that call, this is where we balance really well. I'm over here asking like the mom questions of like, well, how do you feel about private school? And what do you think about these visits? And like, I'm like going through like my list of like checking my boxes. And I looked at him and I said, do you have anything you want to say? Like, what do you want to ask? Like, you come on, the floor is open. And he looks at me, he's like, yeah, I have one question. I said, okay, go ahead. And he asked them like, why do you want to be parents? And I was like, well, damn it. That's a really good question.
Really good question.
I was like, man, and their answers were so genuine, so different, and different in the way that I looked at him. I was like, they're a team. They are a true team. They get it. I said, it's them. It's them. That's who our daughter's parents are. And we told them over the phone, and I'll never forget their reaction when we told them that. And then from then on, we were in communication with them. Because I had placed her after giving birth, we do what's called a placement day, where we all are in at Glad Knee together in Fort Worth, and we, I get like an hour alone with her, and then I get to place her literally physically in their arms, and then we spend about an hour together, and they take her from there. And I see pictures. I got pictures of her today, like, and she just turned 11 months, and so I got pictures of her today, and all the time we're very communicative. I believe as a family, and I even with this opportunity, I was very open with them. I said, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it, and I want you guys. I told them, I was like, the minute I gave birth and I chose you guys, this is our story, and I really want to share it the best way we all can. And they're just, I can't shift them enough. They're amazing.
So Jocelynn, I have to bring up a point here because, it's incredible. You've driven through a snowstorm. You've given birth completely all alone in a parked car in a parking lot. You've made this immense decision to let go of a baby. Everything you went through this whole entire, you placed a child into a loving place that you couldn't provide, and you recognize that, and that foresight was incredible. But, I heard you say something, bringing that pen to paper, relinquishing rights as a parent was the hardest thing you did in any of that entire scenario. Mm-hmm. And that right there, I just want, to point out how strong women are.
Yeah.
Overall. I mean, and that right there, so that just shows so much strength and tenacity and fight inside of you. And so I want to know, I guess, was it just as hard or, in that same category as hard, or was it actually a relief to place her in their arms on that day?
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I think about it, and in that moment, it wasn't a relief, but it was sweet. Because she's like, I wrote this to them today. I'm like, that face could calm oceans. She is I tell them all, she's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And to see my greatest thing, not my thing, but like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my whole life get placed with someone who I thought were just as amazing. It was, I think there was relief there. There were, as a juxtaposition of emotions, there's so many feelings because you're also dealing with postpartum depression.
Yeah. Right.
And so like I would sob wishing I'd had her with me, and then I get pictures of her after a bath, asleep, or like really happy. And it's a weird feeling. It's a calm. I think there was a sense of calm when I gave her to them. When I placed her with them, it never felt like the wrong decision. It just felt incredibly warm. And they are so very calm. At least my knowledge of them and my understanding of them together, they're very calm people, and it helps.
So
well, that was one of my favorite things that you said to me, was that you wanted them, or you wanted her, to grow up in a home that you would have dreamt of. And everything that you chose was based off of what you would have loved. And I love that, because I think that it just brings something so personal and sweet. And the fact that you had a hand in it,
Yeah.
you were the hand. I mean, you literally handed her. And I think it is such an amazing gift when like you just know. And I'll never know what that felt like, but I can only imagine, just knowing you, how beautiful that day was. And Alpha, please take me off of the main one right now, because I'm really, of all moments, like, please.
Right?
And I love your story. I love you. I love your heart. And I think that, so many people have no idea what it's like until you hold that baby in your arms and you're like, oh shit, here we go. Good or bad. But the fact that you could look at that and say, oh shit, I'm not ready yet, and this baby deserves the best, I think is such an amazing gift. And that is a mother's love. And that is something that can never, ever, really even be explained. You just knew. And I think that is it's a gift. And she was a gift. She was well, I know. I know your love for her. So I'm going to let you go into all that.
Well, and what I wanted to say was the fact that you were able to have the fortitude and bring yourself into that moment when she came into this world to say, oh my God, this person deserves better. I love her so much that she deserves better. And then in that same sort of time span, these perfect adoptive parents are right there. So I do believe that there is divine intervention happening, because by design, this child ends up with the most perfect parents for her. And I think they probably feel that way too. And I know you do, because I'm hearing it. So there's an assurance there, but I do want to bring up a topic that I think a lot of people miss or don't tend to think of. Maybe they've thought of it, but they've not spent enough time sort of considering it, because it doesn't affect them personally. But, you're now going home postpartum. You've carried a baby for 9 months. You've given birth, and now you're home and you're still feeling the effects of you've just had a baby. You're still producing breast milk. You're still experiencing, the tightening of the muscles and the period that comes along and persists for another month. So, you've got all of this, right? The vengeance, right? So you've got all of these signs of your body telling you every single moment of every single day for such an extended period of time that you've had a baby. And it's like, there's something missing here. There's something missing. How were you affected by that?
That sentence is exactly right. Is that you just feel like there's something missing. It's the hardest part. It's having all these things happen to you. You're still lactating, or I think they like rock hard, and it's uncomfortable, and like, you're having blood clots still, and you're really weak. And I had terrible preeclampsia. Like, I think my BP when I got to the hospital was like 160 over like 110 or 120, like something stupid. Just like, they were like, we're just concerned with keeping you alive right now, kind of thing. And so I was taking blood pressure medicine and still trying to figure that out. And I was going home to what was still an abusive relationship. One where we didn't really talk about what was going on. I felt he was dealing with it in his own way, and I felt like popcorn in a way that, like, I didn't know what was going to come up from moment to moment, but it would just pop up, and I'd be incredibly sad all of a sudden, and I just want to see her. And I had the most beautiful people around me in terms of my social worker and the transitional family she was with while we chose her parents, and then to follow her parents. Like, there's not a day that goes by where if I ask, like, hey, how's she doing today, that I don't get a picture. Like, they're so kind about it. And I don't know how other birth moms are, and I have a really beautiful support group of other birth moms, and we talk about a little bit, and they're all in different stages of being a mom with their kids, but it's just a whole juxtaposition of feelings, because you're dealing with the body stuff, you're dealing with the mental part of, again, postpartum depression, but also just separation anxiety was really high for me. I'm still getting back to sleeping regularly, trying to sleep regularly. And honestly, the first thing I did when I came back, which was provided by my agency, was therapy.
I love that.
Yeah, the minute I got back, that was my kind of like, if I want to see her in a year, which is my visit time, I said, I want to be in the best headspace I can be. I don't want to be this guilty, shameful wreck that just can't like enjoy this like chance to see her kind of thing.
Yeah.
The therapy was
you are such a warrior. You are such a warrior. You truly are. You wear a crown, and you are the true definition of what I call a brash dragonfly. That's what you are.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, this girl is incredible. And what I'm excited to tell people is that in a couple of weeks, she actually gets to go and be with her daughter for, is it for her first birthday, or is it just right after?
It'll be a little after, just because of how everything's working out and time off of work and things like that. No, I will get to go be with her for a couple days, and I'm very, very, very excited. I did purposefully with my agency. They're all over the country, and so I had the option to have her here in the Metroplex with me, if I like, in terms of like picking a family in the Metroplex. And I said I'd rather not go looking for her at a Walmart in Arlington. So I placed her across the country very willingly, because I just knew it wouldn't. I'd be like, I wonder if she's at Target, right?
The temptation, right?
Well, and I also want people to know that. And if her parents are listening, I want that to be very clear, is that you love this little girl. She changed your life. She saved your life. You've said that to me.
She did. No, 100%.
And I think it's just beautiful, but you love her. And I know that we've talked about this, about the future mom guilt, but I want you to know right here, right now, you should never, ever, you are going to be the most amazing mom. I mean, you already are. You are of a mom. And I just think it is such an amazing gift that you actually gave her life. And Alpha's telling us we don't have that much time left. But
this is what Summer and I do every time.
Yes. Same.
People on Spaces know I'll go forever. But when I'm telling you, well, you know, sitting in my kitchen over here, just bawling like a baby. And I was like, writing all these notes. I was like, oh my gosh, I need her on my show.
So we have to, I don't, it's so hard. We have to, we've got to like, sort of like get where we're going, because we're going to sort of blast the door open and see this from another angle now.
You are. And
I'm so incredibly inspired by you and your strength and your resiliency. And I'll tell you right now, you are a better mom than so many who do have their babies right there with them, simply because of, you know, just the way that you've been able to sort of see all of this thing walk out, and what you've sort of required of the adoptive parents, the whole walkthrough, you know, and just your love, your care, and your sort of, you know, see ahead. What's happening with her in the future? How does this work out for her? You know, I love that. And it makes me just so proud and inspired by you.
Absolutely.
Incredibly resilient, amazing. I wish I could hug you. I wish we weren't in different states.
Oh, well,
I want to hug you so bad. Give her a hug for me.
I will.
No.
Oh my gosh.
And the goal is, honestly, and this is true of open adoptions, the goal is that she lives the most practically healthy life she can, in terms of she knows exactly who she is, exactly where she came from, in terms of these are your circumstances, and this is what was provided to you at this point. And like, to understand that, like, and her parents and I are very big on this, like, and they specifically chose open adoption. They sought it out, which I think is amazing, because I think the whole point of it is that it is in the best interest of the child. And when you have an open adoption and you have direct access to your birth parent, I think it benefits everybody involved much more than I think what we've learned from closed adoptions. And I was very fortunate that that was even an option presented to me, and that who I'm with, Gladney, kind of is very almost exclusive with their open adoptions. They prefer it because it's the best you can find for the kiddo.
And we were going to have them on tonight. I will say that.
Yeah.
However, we are going to give them an entire show. And I'm super excited about that because we're having Bill and Courtney. Courtney was your
I love them.
No, she's a doll. And I'm super excited about that because I have a lot of questions for them. And I think that it's going to be an amazing time for us to hear, why they do this and what it's like for them when they actually get to place a baby and all of the things. So with that, Lisa, are you ready for this part? I'm super excited.
So ready. I'm super excited. So I'm going to do a quick little intro on this situation, which is hard to do a quick little intro on this situation. So there's always that 6 degrees of separation scenario that walks out. So this is something that's kind of incredible. And thank you, Jocelynn, for sharing with us. Thank you so much. But, this is something sort of incredible that you never expect to take place in your own personal life. So, excuse me, I've got a very rambunctious puppy trying to take over my set here. I'm a little nervous, to be quite honest. He might knock the whole thing down. So when I was probably around 17 years old and ready to sort of bounce my way out of the Midwest and head to Florida, I met somebody that I never thought I'd ever expect to meet. And it was a young female who had apparently been looking for her birth parents, and her birth father happened to be my dad, who isn't my real dad, but I was raised by him since I was 3 months old. And I was raised to believe he was my father, and he was. In all respect and honesty, he raised me like his daughter. I knew he'd been married previous to my mother, but I also knew that it was a short-lived marriage. I didn't know anything beyond that, except for it was just a short-lived marriage. It didn't work out. They got divorced, and then he met my mom. That's all I grew up knowing. And so imagine my surprise when I'm 16, 17 years old, and my dad shows up and he goes, "Hey, I got to tell you something. I had a baby with, my first wife, and you're going to meet her tomorrow." What? We gave her up for adoption, and you're going to meet her tomorrow. And so sure enough, the next day I met her, and I didn't know how to react, but it's interesting. A long space and time went by before we actually took the time to get to know each other. But interestingly enough, she was my partner in crime for last year's big non-insurrection. So that was really cool. I got to hang out with her and my nieces. And so we're forging this, this closer and closer relationship. So she's here to talk to us about her perspective of what it's like to have grown up adopted and with her, her parents who adopted her, and sort of give us the rundown story from her point of view. So with that, I know I'm so excited.
So much.
So with that, and no further ado, I'm going to bring on my sister, Corinne. I hope she's still here waiting, and I hope my set can sustain the puppy. Hi, Corinne.
How
are you?
Hey, Summer. Hi, Jocelynn.
Hey.
Your story just touched me so much.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that so powerful?
Oh, my goodness. It really was. Yes, you are an amazing person to be able to do something like that and then share your story with the world.
So, and is Nancy still hanging out?
She is.
So this is going to be the double bump fun now. Hi, Nancy. So we've also got.
I love her. Oh, she's
also got. Right.
This is my mother, my adopted mother.
This is her adopted mother. So now we've got several different angles here to see from, which offers what a perspective. I know. I'm not crying. You're crying. Can't handle it. So do you want to talk to us about, sort of, I don't even know where to begin with this. Where do you begin with this? when did you learn that you were adopted? Do you remember how old you were? And do you remember how you sort of felt about that whole situation?
I really do not remember how old I was. I just have always known my whole life that I was adopted. And it's something that my mother wanted me to know. Because there are some parents out there that don't want their children to know that they were adopted. And my adoption was a closed adoption. So I was not able to have an open adoption and know who my parents were and be able to share photographs and stories and things like that when I was growing up. But my mother, the selfless person that she is, wanted me to know that I was adopted and that she, just that she loves me just like her own, And I had a wonderful life growing up. I never really felt any sad feelings or any loss or when I found out, I guess because I was adopted as a baby. I mean, I was 2 weeks old when she adopted me. So she's the only mother that I knew. And even though she did tell me that I was adopted, it really did not make me feel any kind of bad way or
Wow,
anything,
that's
because I
incredible to hear.
had the love of my mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kareem, don't you feel like you were just so loved? Like you were loved by your birth mom, but then you were so loved by your mom. And I think it is just love overload. Like to think about that you were loved enough to be placed with this amazing woman. Like with this stupid microphone, but you were loved enough to be placed with such an amazing family. And I just think it is such a beautiful story all around, like all the feels, because
Yes.
amazing. And what was that like for you? Let's ask her a question or two. Like how did all of that work? Did you just tell her, I didn't give birth to you, but
Well, I had this book about adoption, and I used to read it to her all the time. And I always just wanted her to know that she was adopted. And she watched this program on television about it was a giraffe was being born, and she just looked at me and she said, I said, that's how people come into the world. I think she was about 4. And she said, did I come from your stomach? And I said, no, you had another biological mother, and I adopted you when you were 2 weeks old. And she never questioned. Then the next thing she said is, how do you make furniture?
Excellent.
That was it.
It's like next, moving
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, I
now.
was 4 at the time, so.
Girl, do you remember when you became curious and sort of, I'd like to meet my birth parents and see what they're like, why am I certain? Why do I have these certain characteristics? Is that sort of what prompted that mission? Or, do you remember where that drive came from?
I remember asking my mom once, like, I wonder who I look like, because I didn't know what my birth parents looked like at the time, and I didn't have any kind of pictures or anything. And I believe I was in a mirror or something. And I said, I wonder who I look like. And she looked at me and she said, I am sure you look just like your mother. And come to find out, I do. I look a lot like her. So I got to see some pictures. I met Robert, who is my father and Lisa's father. And I found him. And then after I found him, I met him and I got to meet some of my siblings, Lisa included. And then a year later, I actually found my biological mother. And then I got to meet her. And it was like, I always knew her my whole life when I did get to meet her. And she never made me feel uncomfortable. They both made me feel very loved. And I remember my father telling me the story when I first met him. And he said, the first time that we saw you, after you were born, and they were actually wheeling me away in one of those little,
The nursery
cribs
cart
that they
things.
have,
Yeah.
or yes.
Mhm.
And he said, she is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I remember that story, and when he told me that, I wanted to cry, but he always said that he's thought about me his whole life. My mother included said the same thing, and they just wanted the best for me. They wanted me to grow up in a good, loving family and be able to have the things that I needed and I wanted. And at the time, they were both so young, and they just didn't think that they would be able to provide that for me. And they didn't want me to have any hardships. So, yeah.
And
So they gave me to a nice, loving family.
so now I know, Jocelynn, you listening to this, that's got to offer so much sort of comfort, moving forward to hear this now, this is your daughter in, adulthood, this is her going, I thank you so much for, having the kindness and the strength and the fortitude to see this out and say, we want you to have everything you could possibly ever need. And therefore we're going to make this very selfish, very difficult, but the most loving thing that you could have done. And so, and I think, Corinne and I have spoken on that. That's exactly where she comes from with this entire situation. She's so grateful on, just the way everything played out. It was meant to be. Whatever happened was meant to be. And that's the way that went. So, and, Nancy, what a beautiful heart you have for, opening your heart and your home to a perfect child, and being blessed with her. And, thank you for, all that you've done, because I'm so happy to have this extra. I get an extra sister. Like, hello. Is there anything better than having another sister? I think it's the coolest thing ever. And I was totally going to take Maddie sledding, but yeah, not happening now. We've got a broken leg.
I know. And we're going to get like 20 inches of snow on Sunday.
Oh my God.
Right. So, yeah, we're not sledding anymore. I can tell you that. We're definitely not sledding. I can, maybe do a virtual sled.
How about next year when she's all healed?
Yeah. Oh, so I'm so happy. Thank you so much for coming on, sis. I really appreciate it. I think it's so cool to hear it from another angle. And this is just a really special story all the way around, seeing this in so many different aspects. And I think it's more than anything, we've got to create this awareness that adoption is something so special, and too often too many people immediately want to move into that abortion aspect of things. And, because it's a big, scary thing, it's a big, scary thing. And,
it absolutely is. And I thank my parents every day for not deciding to get an abortion, because I would not be here today if they did decide the other way. Right. And my 4 children would not be here today if it wasn't for, them allowing me to live my life and giving me that gift.
That's right. 100%.
Well, and I think what's also so beautiful, and Jocelynn, I'm going to talk to you for a second. I'm going to try. It's going to be really hard.
I know, it's so difficult. Summer, hang on a second. I want to see are we live in Spaces? And I wonder because I think we are getting sort of close on our time. I wonder if there's anybody in Spaces that may want to ask a question. Would you girls be okay with that? Corinne, Jocelynn, Nancy? Sure. Okay, so Spaces, yeah, Nancy, is when I refer to, we've got an open space happening on Twitter right now, I believe. And so I think we do have a listening audience, and there may be some people that, it doesn't necessarily even have to be a question, you guys, if you just want to make a comment, and, whatever. I don't know, Alpha, Candace, how are we doing on Spaces? Do we have anybody that would like to?
We have 10 minutes.
No.
That would be Bailey.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
I've got a bad puppy on my hands.
Well, I do have a question for Jocelynn, and actually, and I feel like Corinne can kind of chime in on this one. So, where do you see yourself in her life moving forward? Because I know you're going to be an active mom, and I know that there has been a lot of things that we have talked about with regard to just, your role moving forward. So tell us, like, you've made amazing changes. You've left your ex. I'm so proud of you. I love you for that. You've got your own little apartment. You're working 2 jobs. And where does baby girl fall into all of this? Because she needs to be a part of you or of your life. She's already a part of you, but your life.
I think while she's in these younger years, it's just going to really be more of her adoptive parents and I moving to a general idea of how we want to play that role. What does she want to call me? Things like that. Those are conversations we'll have eventually. But to be truthful, the moment she has an opinion for herself of how she wants me in her life is what it's going to be. She's going to really, for me at least, take the reins on her life and how she wants to make me a part of it. If she wants me to be at the lacrosse game, or I don't know why I keep wanting her to play lacrosse. I think it's just because I think she's going to be really tough. Like, I think she's going to be like really, really tough.
Well, if she's anything like her biological mother, then I would have to agree with that.
Absolutely.
Coming
into the world like that, you have to be tough.
But I think it's really going to be up to her. It's going to be what capacity and how much space do we want to share together. Because I think for me, my first thought is however she wants me there, I'm going to be there. Like whatever she wants to give in terms of time and efforts and I will be like tooth and nail waiting because but I want her to feel like she's comfortable and she has her space and she has her life and that I can be a very open and honest and comfortable part of it, that she doesn't feel like she's being suffocated, but I'm not vacant. I am very much there. So long story short, she gets to pick. I don't want to pick.
I love that. And I love that you've already sort of, predetermined ahead of time, like you're okay with whatever choice she makes regarding how she wants that relationship to march out if and when that time comes. So, and you're accepting, you're willing, and I think even more like going back, like, the fact that adoption agency offered and provided post mental health therapy, that just makes my heart sing because there is so much of that missing and overlooked and just, it's an underserved situation. A lot of people think it's just and move on, but it's not. No. You've got to work on that for yourself.
Jocelynn, and I will say this, I'm going to speak for you, Jocelynn. It's not that you haven't moved on. It's just that you love her so much that you've needed help to get through these emotions and the feelings of not having her with you like you did for 9 months. And I think it is very imperative that we talk for 2 seconds, Alpha, and then we're done. But I do think it's very important that people realize that this is very, very emotional, and you're already going through all of these hormones and all of these feelings as a woman and as now a mom, and to just think that there isn't a follow-up with that is just very sad. And that was one thing, you know that, you and I talked about this extensively, that there was therapy for you, and you're still in therapy. Like,
I just stopped going every week.
So, and if I must, I have to interject on this. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to make one little point, and then we're going to hand it over, Candace. But I want to say there is no moving on. There is only acceptance, and we apply the same stages of grief from the Kubler-Ross model of grief and loss, and that's what you've had to move through is that same stages of grief to get yourself to the acceptance, and the acceptance is where the healing is occurring.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, to be honest, I told Summer this. Grief is like a superpower because once you understand it, once you know what grief is, and it's different for everybody, but once you know it, when you see it, you can share space with people and you can save space for people who are grieving. And I think that's what I've learned the most from my like kind of therapeutic journey so far. And I'm very much still at the baby end of it. I ship Emily in the couch therapy here in McKinney like no one's business. Emily has saved my life multiple times, just like my daughter.
Oh my God, Summer. Are you going to finish that before we're done?
Just so everybody knows, I don't joke around when I talk about my jug of water. It's not
Oh my God. I'm feeling like a little weakling over here with my little
Hold
bottle.
on.
Oh my gosh, my blood.
Now, real quick, ladies, since you guys are all making me out to be the bad guy keeping track of time, you do have Candace on Spaces that has a statement to make. And I also want to say, if we are on Spaces, we do have about 4 minutes left. So if you wanna make a statement or ask a question before we wrap these things up, and you're a familiar face, send the request. Candace is looking at it, and we'll go. But Candace, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Candace.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
mean
was
to cut you
gonna
off
say-
earlier.
No, Lisa, you're good. You're good. This has been the most inspiring. All of you are just amazing and selfless. And Summer, I love you so much. You know that, girl. I wish I could hug you. But what amazing, amazing stories, all of you. I think I've been crying through this whole thing. You guys all are blessed, and I hope this inspires other people, which I'm sure it will.
Aw. Love you, Candace.
great.
Love you like a
Thanks, yeah.
sister. It's another sister.
I love you
of mine.
guys.
We love her. I'm so glad she's on our little team. Whew.
Do we have any of our friends, our family from Spaces that want to make any comments?
And while we're waiting, Jocelynn, thank you. And
Oh,
Yes. Thank you so much for being so brave. And Corinne, thank you for being brave. Thank you all for sharing. Nancy, thank you so much for being here. I love that we get to see this from so many different angles, all working together in different, different spaces and different time, and how these things sort of look from an outside perspective.
all things for this to bring us together. It's just such an
Mhm.
amazing story. And Jocelynn, you are amazing. You are an incredible mom. And I know this is something that we've talked about with mom grief, mom, what's the word? Where we feel guilt, mom
Got like
guilt.
mom shame, mom shame,
Mom
guilt,
shame.
yeah.
Mom shame.
You should never be shameful. What you have done is the most incredible gift. And you are an amazing mom, and you're going to be an amazing mom in the future. And I know we've talked about that. And I want to close it with that, is that, sometimes momhood doesn't look the same for everybody. And I think that's okay. It gives us a new perspective. But I definitely think that it is.
Do have a couple people with speakers that do want to say something, okay?
Okay. I'm going to use my
Yield.
lips and cry more.
All right. Who do we have?
We'll go with a familiar man that you guys know. He's always got great things to say. Camus, please.
Kimasabi.
Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
I'm just blown away. This is amazing, and I just want to say God bless all of you, because you're very special, very, very special people to be able to do the things. Jocelynn, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to say-
Thank you.
I hope you feel all of this love that's being. I know it's
like
just
super
ourselves.
overwhelming, but
But I feel like all this love sort of radiating. Like I can feel it. It's kind of incredible. I feel a lot of love radiating in your direction, and sort of lifting you up because of this incredible story. It's extremely powerful to have heard this, and I can't imagine why anybody would never make a book or a movie about this, to be quite honest.
Just the fact that there's birth in a car, in a snowstorm,
Right.
from the freaking hospital. How does that even happen? I would have been like, oh, hell no. No.
Before Lisa and Summer, you close us out on an absolutely fantastic debut episode. You do have one speaker left, Tracy. She's been in the rooms multiple times.
Yep.
So Tracy, welcome to the show. You're live with a new perspective. What do you have to share, or what do you have to ask?
I just have to say, amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so heartfelt. I was bawling the whole time. Jocelynn, you are so
Summer.
strong and mature. Just to make that choice. Now I'm
Thanks,
gonna
you're
have to
gonna make
stop
me
before I
cry.
cry.
This is gonna make me start crying all over.
I just, oh my gosh, I love you all. This is amazing. God bless.
Thank you,
Thank you.
I
Tracy.
told you, I warned you guys. She's amazing. And this was our goal. I wanted her on this show for our first show, our debut, whatever, because I just feel like it is such an important message to get across that, yes, we live in a world that's quite chaotic, but there is beauty everywhere. And Jocelynn, I'm going to talk to you for 2 seconds. You are inspiring. You are amazing. You are beautiful. You are everything I hope to be as a mom, as a woman. You are selfless.
So sorry.
You're
It
good.
doesn't matter. You're amazing. That's all I'm saying. I love you. You know I love you. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I was able to allow you to, so she doesn't hear.
Ah.
Oh,
Alpha, he's messing with us.
not
I gotta tell you,
But-
and I feel the same way. I'm gonna echo all those same sentiments at both of you. I love you both, and I am so
Green.
incredibly blessed to be surrounded by such strong women in my lifetime. And it's amazing, and it's awe-inspiring, and it just keeps pushing us to do more and go further, and see what we're made of. And I love that. So
one of the things that Lisa and I wanted to do with this podcast or show, or whatever we're going to call it, was to leave people with kind of a challenge. If this is something that means something to you, if you're passionate about adoption, if you're adopted or you're wanting to adopt, reach out to us. I have done a ton of research. We are actually going to have the adoption agency that Jocelynn used. And I just challenge you guys to get involved. One thing that she told me was they really need car seats and just certain things for babies. And so we all babies. And I feel like that's our call to action is let's give back and let's see what we can do as a community to make adoption normalized and to change some laws so that it's a little more, I don't want to say affordable, but easier for these couples that really want these babies. And, as somebody who has a very close tie with abortion, I look at this in a very different light now. I have a new perspective. And I think Jocelynn did, because I wasn't strong enough to do what she did. And at the time. And I look at it differently now that I'm a mom and I am, 44. And I just think it's a beautiful, beautiful gift to be able to place that baby to parents that will love it unconditionally for the rest of their life. So
and so Summer, and I want to say, I think that we'd see a lot more scenarios break down like this if adoption wasn't such a cumbersome process, such an expensive process, and you've got so many people waiting to bring a child into their homes, loving people to bring a child into their homes, but there's so much red tape to get through. And it's become a business model, and it's really sad, to be quite honest. And you've got the foster system backed up, and you've got abortion clinics being overrun, but you've got all these parents that want children and they're willing to give them the home, but it's going to cost them a large, penny to make that happen. And, and it's a supply demand issue, which is unfortunate to look at human beings that way, but that's really at the end of the day, what we are facing. And so we need to find a way to change that landscape. And what can we do as an individual or as a community to take a real close look at that and see where can changes take place or be made where laws are concerned, with this scenario, with adoption, with the whole entire process of it. It's extremely, it's important.
Well, and I do want to let our audience know, A, we love you. And B, that's actually going to be a whole episode that Lisa and I are dedicating to is foster system and and what's really going on, and what can we do to get involved as a community, as as individuals. I know I would absolutely foster an older child. I'm too old to have babies anymore, but my grandbabies one day. But I think that there's so many things out there that we can do, and if we just get involved, if we start helping change legislation and making it so that these kids are not just placed, but they're given to like place like that, placed in homes where families really don't love them, and I'm so excited.
That's right.
For them.
That's right. So we've got to wrap it up because I know we're running over a little bit. So with that, I do want to say
you and I can go on forever.
We could go on forever. We could just,
Before-
chat it up. So before we close out, I want to say thank you all for joining the Alpha News Network. We are going to be here every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central, and I believe 6 p.m. Mountain. Is that correct, Alpha?
Other way. Yeah.
6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m.
Pacific.
Eastern. Now, real quick, because the main boss, my wife, sent me a text message, and she's like, "You better let Corinne and you better let Jocelynn say good night." So
Yeah, of course, he cut them off, and I was like, "That was not nice." He cut
it
them
wasn't
off.
just
So thank you, boss lady. I love that.
before I get crucified in the emails and chat, I did not. I was trying to work out some technical difficulties. So if one of you guys wants to text Jocelynn to bring her back in here while Corinne's saying her goodbyes, it's absolutely been an amazing show. Far exceeded any expectations. I know I speak for everybody in Spaces and everybody on all the different platforms. We're on 2 channels on YouTube right now. We're on Twitch, we're on D Live, we're on Rumble, and I can tell you that's probably not a whole lot of dry eyes that watch this show tonight. Truly heartfelt stories. I admire all of you. But Corinne, if you definitely, I have orders to follow, so please say goodnight, and Lisa.
I will. Thank you.
When you guys want to get
I do. Thank you. I do want to say one thing, Lisa, about the different agencies and stuff. I'm not sure which ones are which, but I know like I was adopted through Catholic Charities, and my mom said that she did not have to pay anything. She just had to go through, I guess, paperwork and a lawyer. She had to go through a lawyer, which I guess she had a lawyer fee. But as far as paying like a lot of money, there are some places and agencies out there that do not cost a lot of money to adopt children and give them good homes as well.
Well,
So,
we are absolutely
wanted to-
going to be talking about that too.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes, we are. We're
Yeah.
gonna
The
be
Wi-Fi in my
revisiting
apartment went
Justin's
out, so
back.
I'm like rushing to a Starbucks. Sorry.
So I just want to say thank
Went
you.
out.
It's
I
not
just want to say
snowing,
thank
right?
you for letting me on the show and sharing my side of the story as well, and my mother as well.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to have seen you again, and come back and visit me soon. I know you will, but
Oh, absolutely,
thank you so much.
absolutely.
This is so important.
Ladies. Love a party.
I couldn't have.
Wait.
I know. I
Thank
couldn't
you,
have thought
Summer.
to debut a first episode any other way. This is the best way to have
Oh
done
my
this,
gosh,
and
it
I'm
was
so appreciative.
wonderful. It was wonderful.
We're gonna
Yes,
party
thank you so
together,
much.
ladies.
And
This was-
Jocelynn, thank
was
you for
incredible.
sharing your
There's no
story.
line.
No,
Jocelynn,
There you go.
sorry. I'm like,
You are amazing.
Trying.
I love you. I am
Thank
so
you.
thankful for you. Thank you for letting me help share your story. I had nothing to do with it. You did it all. You're amazing. Your daughter is amazing, and she is so blessed to have
Yes.
you as her
oh
mom.
my gosh.
She sure is.
Oh,
She
That
sure
is-
is.
yeah.
And Nancy, Corinne is so blessed to have you
Y'all
as
are
her
so
mom.
kind.
It makes
Nancy,
me
you're
so
an
happy.
amazing mom.
You're so amazing. Thank you all.
Absolutely.
I love you all. I love every one of you. I wish we could do a
I
group
love you
hug
all.
in some virtual group hug way, but yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe we could do like a Brady
No.
Bunch.
Thank you
thing.
so much. No, I
Next
appreciate you
week-
guys giving us a space.
Oh, you are welcome. And well, you know where I live, girl.
You know what? My next mission is to write your story. I'm going to be writing your story.
It deserves to be written.
Tell you
It's not
what.
done yet.
Yeah,
So.
because I don't have enough going on right now. I have to have one more thing. I'm trying to figure out how to tip the scale here.
I wish I felt like it was over, but thank you.
I think it's just beginning. I think amazing things are
is.
just beginning for you. And I
That's
can't
what I
wait
think too.
for you to actually like, just be like, guess what? Like, I'm pregnant again and pregnant.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the 20 years later. Where are they? Like,
Oh, I know.
what has happened? What has her life turned out to be like? Like, holy moly. Like, and you're going to have that like awakening moment. Like, I got here because of this. And it's like, you
Amen.
couldn't be happy. You found exactly where you were meant to be. And I think you're already experiencing that too. So you're on your way. I love it. Good night, you all. Please tune in tomorrow night to Pirate Radio for all of our listeners, viewers. Pirate Radio on D Live with James R, the one and only Pirate Radio. We've got to give him a plug. And then, of course, join us again next Monday night where Apothecary and myself will be going over our Remedy Road podcast. That's 10 p.m. Central, I think. No, it's Eastern on 10 p.m. and it's 9 p.m. I'm sorry, y'all. I get myself confused with these different time zones. All my people are in different time zones.
I'll help you out.
I could say something to that, but I'm not. I'm gonna hold off.
just to make sure no one's confused, you guys. Remedy Road Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday nights, the Alpha Warrior show by the really rude boss. That's controlled by the bigger boss, and that show's also at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesdays, you have the Transnational. That's at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern. And then, of course, you don't want to miss episode 2 of A New Perspective next week on Thursday, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. And go ahead and send us home, ladies.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. And I hope it touched your hearts like it's touched mine. And Lisa, thank you for being the best co-host with Emma host. You're the best.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us so that we could see a new perspective. I love it.
That's right.
Have a great night.
And Kareem.
Thank
and
you.
You guys are the best.
Thank y'all so much.
Love you all.
Love you all.